Trevor Story is on a hot streak at the plate right now for the Boston Red Sox. Is it here to stay or is it just a fluke?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's all completely free. So make sure you continue to tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Welcome to today's show. The Red Sox are coming off of a very frustrating loss against the Reds last night. And what makes it incredibly frustrating? The fact that it was a typical Red Sox way to lose. They had a 3-0 lead in this game, and it all got swallowed up by the bullpen melting down at a terrible time, the base running and defense failing the Red Sox late in the game, and ultimately they ended up losing 8-4. And that just is the story of the 2025 Boston Red Sox. They could have gone back to 500 after this game, and they would have been the first team all season to sweep the Reds. They had momentum on their side because they had won the first game of the series, and they won the game that had been suspended and resumed earlier in the day yesterday, and they were winning the last game of the series, but in typical Red Sox fashion, they fell apart with the same issues that continue to happen over and over again. What can we take away from this series? For one, Trevor Story is on an absolute tear right now. Is it here to stay? We've got to be discussing that, as well as the bullpen melting down and what the missing piece is there, as well as giving an update on Kristian Campbell, who I spoke with in Worcester yesterday when he was getting ready to make his Polar Park debut at first base. So you're going to be hearing from him on the show. But we've talked a lot about Trevor Story all year and how he wasn't exactly getting the job done. Now, defensively, he started off very rough, but over the last couple months, his defense has really drawn back into the version of Trevor Story that we've known throughout his career of being this dominant defender, and he's made fantastic plays at shortstop. He did make an error in last night's game that led to yet another unraveling for the Red Sox. So that was inexcusable late in the game. But overall, his defense has been very durable and what we can ask for from him. His offense has been up and down. Now, he has been on a hot streak for the Red Sox as of late. In his last 5 games, he's 9 for 18, which is a .500 average with 1 home run, 4 doubles, and 6 RBIs. He also has 2 walks and 2 strikeouts in that span. So is that a fluke or is it here to stay? I'm going to be diving a little bit more into some of those numbers as to why we can feel more like it's a fluke than something that's going to last. Now, in the series against the Reds, he hit pretty well. The Red Sox smoked them in the first game, winning 13-6. They exploded for 14 hits in that game, and 2 of those hits came from Trevor Story. He went 2 for 4 in that game with 3 RBIs. So big game for him then. Then in the second game of the series, in which the Red Sox won 5-3, the game that played the first 3 innings on Tuesday night, and then they had to play the rest of it earlier in the day on Wednesday. He had 1 hit in that game, going 1 for 4 with 1 RBI. So obviously not as many hits as he had in the previous game, but the Red Sox as a whole had 8 hits compared to their explosion for hits in the first game as it is. Then in the series finale, in which the Reds won 8-4 and the Red Sox dropped back down to 43-45, Trevor Story had 3 hits in that game. So he went 3 for 4 and scored a run, and that got his batting average up to 244 with a 286 on base percentage and 389 slugging. So there's no denying that he had a good series. Now, the biggest thing here that we need to keep in mind is that he has consistently been around the 230, 240 mark in his batting average all season long, and he can't really get over that hump of hitting 250 or better. He's been lingering, starting to get closer to that, but then he'll kind of drop back down. And the biggest thing that I've identified when it comes to Trevor Story is that he is still swinging and missing at lots of pitches that he shouldn't be. For his swing and miss rate this season, he is very poor in that category. He's in the 7th percentile in strikeout rate. What does that mean? That means that he strikes out more than a lot of other hitters do. And that's utterly concerning because he has been up to bat in big spots this season and he hasn't been able to get the job done. He's striking out 29.7% of the time this season with just a 4.7% walk rate. So his strikeout to walk ratio is not where it should be. His walk percentage is in the 12th percentile, so slightly better than strikeout percentage, but still obviously not even remotely close to where it has to be. And that is the sole reason why this streak that he's on right now has been fun, but it's a streak. He is a very streaky hitter. He's going to drop back down into a long period of struggle, and people are going to be like, wow, Trevor Story sucks again, because that is what this fan base does. If a player's playing well, they're like, wow, keep Trevor Story forever. If he's not playing well, it's he sucks, send him to oblivion. And it's not sustainable for a player to be able to continue to hit consistently well if he's swinging at blatantly bad pitches that he shouldn't be. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that are good about Trevor Story's presence, one of them being his leadership and what he shows to the younger guys on this team and the tone that he sets in terms of that mentorship to them. He even said something really nice about Garrett Crochet after his outing the other night, in which the Red Sox gave him a ton of run support because he had pitched in the 13-6 win that the Red Sox had on Monday, and they are notoriously bad with providing him run support. But Trevor Story mentioned we finally gave him run support, which was really needed. He's been absolute nails for us literally all season long, and we haven't been able to get him run support. So I'm glad we finally were able to. So that's the type of thing that the younger players can really model after, is a player who's going out there and giving credit to teammates who are going out there and really holding down the fort for the team all season long. And he's also somebody who is quick to take responsibility if he is not doing his job or the team as a whole is not getting things done. And with the Crochet situation, it's 100% true. The Red Sox finally piled on a bunch of runs for him on Monday night to take the pressure off of him when normally they don't provide any run support of the sort for him. So really glad to see that Trevor Story acknowledged that. And the younger players can learn from not only his interviewing skills, because he shows a lot of professionalism in his interviews, but also just the way he carries himself on the field and the fact that he can serve as a good in-player role model, in-game role model as well. So when you look at him compared to his younger counterparts, you have guys like Marcelo, for example, who's also an infielder, who can look up to him and his style of play in the infield and say, hey, how do you handle these types of situations? And even off the field with the pressure, he's certainly great to have around in that regard. But when it comes to his offense, I don't have confidence that he will be able to maintain this pace at which he's hitting right now. Now, granted, it's Major League Baseball. They play 162 games a year. The majority of their starters play in mostly all of those games. And Trevor Story being healthy in itself is a huge win for this Red Sox team. So I'm not taking away from that. But what I am saying is it's hard to rely on a hitter to be that good consistently when they're striking out as much as they are and they're chasing as much as they are. He's also in just the 7th percentile for chase percentage. And when you see him swing at balls in the dirt with the bases loaded, that's pretty frequent with him. And it's hard to really trust him to come through in instances in which the Red Sox have runners on base in order for him to drive in a run. Now, during this hot streak as of recently, people might say, hey, I trust Trevor Story to go up there and get the job done. Sure, but again, it's a hot streak. It is not going to be consistent, and he's not going to be able to maintain that unless he drastically adjusts his plate approach a little bit and stops chasing balls that are way outside the strike zone, because that's certainly what's holding him back right now. Coming up, though, the bullpen melted down again for the Boston Red Sox last night. What's the missing piece there? If you're ever looking to score last-minute tickets to something like a sporting event or a concert, head to Game Time immediately. We've literally all been there, where we log on at the crack of dawn to wait forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to end up losing your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. So Game Time can help you out, because if you are tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, Game Time has what's called zone deals to pick the best seats in your section for you, so that you don't have to worry about it, and it takes care of all of it. Plus, it's cheaper than other ticketing vendors, which is why I love it the most. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I promise you, it will guarantee you the lowest prices. I don't use any other ticketing vendor anymore besides Game Time. So head to it the next time you want to go to a live event. As we discuss the Red Sox losing in disappointing fashion, just like always, the summary of the season, part of the reason for that, and actually a very heavy reason for it, was the bullpen, and it's melting down once again. Now, we talked about Trevor Story and how he's on a hot streak right now. Why will that not continue? Because his overall approach is still the same. He still has his strikeouts mixed in with the good hits, and we've seen this from Trevor Story in the entirety of his time with the Boston Red Sox, that he'll go on a really nice hot streak for a while, but then he'll dip back down and the cold streak will last longer. So I have no reason to believe that that pattern's going to change until he starts to cut down on the number of strikeouts that he has. For example, he did record 0 strikeouts in the first game of the series against the Reds. And then in the second game, he did have a strikeout. And then in the third game, in which he recorded 3 hits, no strikeouts. Those are numbers to pay attention to, because usually his box score is attached to at least 1 strikeout. And the fact that in 2 of those games he didn't strike out at all means maybe he is turning the corner. But again, I don't trust that that's actually happening until he cuts down on those swings and misses. That's far from the biggest issue with this Red Sox team right now, though. And the biggest issue that came up once again for the Red Sox last night was the bullpen melting down. Now, they had a 3-0 lead against the Cincinnati Reds, and they made 2 fielding errors in the game. So that definitely didn't help the situation. Also, base running blunders. For example, Romy Gonzalez hit a ball deep to the outfield on what should have been a double, but he got too aggressive and tried to go for a triple and got thrown out at third base. So again, more of the same mistakes for the Red Sox in that regard, but the bullpen absolutely melting down was the biggest reason for the Red Sox loss, because Brennan Bernardino started the game and he looked good. He pitched 1 2/3 innings, giving up 1 hit but no runs with 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. He threw 29 pitches with 16 of those going for strikes. So he looked pretty good overall, other than the walk and the 1 hit that he had given up, but no real damage done. Then after he got taken out of the game, Jorge Alcala came in, threw 1 1/3, giving up 1 hit and no runs with no walks and 1 strikeout. So again, he looked solid, didn't throw many pitches. He threw 13 pitches, but 10 of those went for strikes. So his command was on point when he was out there. Then Chris Murphy came in, also looked good, 2.2 innings pitched, giving up 1 hit and no earned runs with 2 strikeouts. 28 pitches thrown with 20 for strikes. So another guy who was really locked in. And Chris Murphy, so far, since being back from the injured list, has been nothing but dominant for the Red Sox bullpen. So that could be absolutely huge moving forward. But then they left the game to Greg Weisser, who took the loss because everything fell apart when he was out there. He did not have it. And with the Red Sox up 3-0, he gave up a grand slam to put the Reds up 4-3. And that was incredibly disappointing because this felt like a game that the Red Sox should have won. And in all rights of the word, they should have, because they had all this momentum. Their pitchers were coasting through, but then Weissert comes in to ruin the party. He threw one inning, giving up 4 hits and 5 runs. Granted, just 3 of those were earned with 1 walk and no strikeouts. He did give up that grand slam. And the issue I have wasn't necessarily his command, because he threw 30 pitches with 21 of them going for strikes. He just didn't have it. His stuff wasn't working for him, and the Reds were all over his pitches. And the problem was, whenever he tried to adjust and throw a different pitch because there was a pitch that the Reds were feasting on, he still couldn't make that adjustment because they were feasting on everything that he had. And Weissert overall has generally been reliable this year for the Boston Red Sox, but he's been used so much out of that Red Sox pen, so he's probably gassed at this point. So that was rough to see. He did not have it. And then Jordan Hicks came in, the Red Sox main piece in the Rafael Devers trade. He threw 0.2 innings, giving up 3 hits and 3 runs, with 1 of those being earned, with 1 walk and no strikeouts. He threw 19 pitches with 11 going for strikes. Now, again, he was very much not locked in this outing. And what I will say about Hicks is, he has had this problem before where he's just been incredibly inconsistent, and it's a tremendously small sample size for him in Boston right now. So it's hard to really say for sure the type of pitcher that he's going to be for the Red Sox moving forward, because he looked really dominant in his first outing for the Red Sox the other night. And then he goes into this game last night, and it's just the complete opposite of that. So definitely could have been a lot better, but damage had already been done with Weissert, and then Alex Cora went to him in hopes that there wouldn't be more damage done, and he couldn't get it done either. So then he got pulled, and then Cooper Criswell came in, who pitched 1 2/3, and he looked good. He gave up just 2 hits, but no runs or no walks, with 1 strikeout. He threw 30 pitches with 22 of them going for strikes. Now, again, overall, they were throwing strikes. Their pitches were in the strike zone. It was just that with Weissert and Hicks, guys were figuring them out. And that's a problem. And this whole situation is a prime example as to how important Justin Slaten is for the Red Sox bullpen. Because if you have a 3-0 lead and you throw Greg Weissert out there and he clearly doesn't have it, you let him throw and give up a run or 2, maybe. Again, granted, he gave up a grand slam. So in this situation, you couldn't really say, okay, if he gives up a run, we're going to pull him, because that just wasn't an option. But if he's giving up a couple base runners, for example, and it doesn't really seem like he has it, or at least not his best stuff, that's when you can say, hey, let's bring in Justin Slaten to close out this inning, because, you know, we have this lead that we want to protect, and clearly Greg Weissert doesn't have it for us right now, so we should bring in somebody else. So that is a type of situation in which he could have been very helpful, and it's just unfortunate that Justin Slaten is hurt, because if he was not hurt, there are so many more situations he could have been used in. For one, obviously, consider the fact that the bullpen has 1 more arm that can help them out. But for 2, just in situations in which the Red Sox really need a high leverage arm to come in and throw, it really stinks when they don't have Slaten. And for example, even when they went down 4-3 and Greg Weissert clearly didn't have it, then maybe that's a time where you put Justin Slaten in at that point, down 1 run. I know he's a high leverage arm, but if you're trying to maintain that 1 run deficit to give your team a chance to come back, that's when you could put him in. But the problem was that Greg Weissert clearly didn't have it in this game, and the damage had already been done because he had given up 5 runs. So then when you bring in Hicks at that point, then obviously more happened, and the Reds were able to put this one in the win column for them before the game was final. So everything just unraveled. But in the case of this specific game, instead of bringing in Hicks in that situation, maybe you bring in a guy who you can trust to not lose that stretch of the game and at least keep the Red Sox in it by saying, okay, if you don't give up any runs, then we have a shot moving forward. So it's definitely tough not having Slaten in that bullpen right now, because you'd be surprised how important it is to just have your high leverage guys available as often as you do. For example, Aroldis Chapman, I mean, he came in the first game of the afternoon, which was a suspended game that had been moved from Tuesday night because they played the first 3 innings of that game. And then on Wednesday, they had to play the rest of the game. So Brian Bayo was pitching, and then after the 8th inning, he got pulled. So then Aroldis Chapman came in and closed it out in the 9th. And he's been absolute nails as the Red Sox closer, which is great. But it's hard to really picture a lot of other high leverage arms in this bullpen right now for certain. You can hope for guys like Alcala. You can even hope for a guy like Hicks to bounce back his next time out. Or you could even say, for example, Garrett Whitlock or Justin Wilson, but both have had their struggles so far this season. Justin Slaten for sure as well, but Justin Slaten has been in this boat last season where he was relied on a lot in high leverage. So having him could have really benefited the Red Sox bullpen. And in this game, there was no way to know that Greg Weissert wasn't going to have it. But once it started to look like he did it, then you could have maybe brought Slaten in to limit or just eliminate altogether the damage. So definitely tough there with the injury, but hopefully he's able to come back and contribute sooner rather than later, because his team really, really could use his help. It's just so upsetting when the bullpen blows it in this way. Coming up, though, I'm going to be talking about a player who could be returning to the Red Sox at some point, and that is Kristian Campbell. If you work in the plumbing, HVAC, or electrical fields, Supply House is the place for you, because it's an easy to use website that's packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Essentially, it has an inventory of different parts from a bunch of different brands that you can choose from to find exactly what you need to help do your job. And it's delivered fast from coast to coast. My cousin uses it every day because he's in electrical. So he every single day is on Supply House looking for new products that'll help make his job a lot easier. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. You won't be disappointed if you're in those jobs. It really will help you out a ton. So while the Red Sox decided to lose their game last night in Red Sox fashion, I am happy they won the series. Obviously, can't sweep everybody all the time, but this was upsetting because this really felt like a winnable game, especially given the next 2 opponents on the schedule are the Nationals and the Rockies. And those are both teams that are very beatable. And the Red Sox have to be able to win games against those teams. There's just no excuse to not win both of those series. So could have had so much momentum going into those series, but the Red Sox had to find a way to lose because this is the story of this season. So while the Red Sox were doing that, I was actually in Worcester yesterday covering the Woo Sox, and I spoke with Kristian Campbell, who made his Polar Park debut at first base. He had played first base in 2 games for the Woo Sox on the road last week, but this was the first time he was playing that position at home for the Woo Sox. Now, they've been having him take a lot of reps at that position over the course of the time he's been in Worcester. And even prior to that, when he was up with the major league team, the Red Sox were having him take reps at first base also. And Alex Cora had kind of said, we're trying to see how it goes. We want to keep our options open. There was never any declaration of he is going to be our first baseman. It was just more, let's test the waters and feel this out and see how he does. So he played first base at Polar Park last night, and he definitely looked good. He looked really durable. He definitely looked a little bit less confident, I would say, than he does at second base, and a little bit more hesitant when it comes to making the more challenging plays. So that's something that I'm sure over time he'll adapt to and continue to get used to as he plays that position a little bit more, because it's more challenging to move positions in the infield than it looks. Different angle, different thought process, different plays being made, and different execution of the baseball. So I'm sure over time he'll get used to and more confident in playing that position a little bit more, but he's athletic enough to where he can make the transition seamlessly. He didn't have any real blunders at first base last night, and he was able to make the plays that came to him. So definitely a promising sign for him moving forward when it comes to his potential and ability to play first base. And he's willing to kind of play wherever the team needs him to play. When I spoke with him, he really emphasized just figuring out how he can best contribute to the team. And one thing I picked up on with him is that he's not angry or upset about being in Worcester right now. It just kind of is what it is. He's taking it day by day, and he's saying, hey, I'm going to figure out how to help this team the best possible way that I can, no matter whether I'm with the Woo Sox or with the Red Sox. I am just going to do what I can to put this team in a position to succeed. And that's a good attitude to have, because sometimes you run into players who are just really angry about the situation they're in and they make it known. Whereas KC did not make any of that known. And maybe he is frustrated internally, but if that's the case, he handled it very professionally. And the way that he was answering the questions, I thought, was very open-minded and very just willing to take on whatever the team needs him to take on. And the other thing I noticed about him is that he just went out there and looked like it was another day. And wherever the Red Sox were going to have him play, he's going to play. Was the attitude he had when he was up in the majors. It's the exact same attitude now. And that's something I really admire about Kristian. Take a listen to my conversation with him. How are you feeling about playing first base today?
Good. I just worked on it out here. Worked on it a lot. I've been working on it for a minute now, so I feel confident. And this is my third game at first base, and everything's gone well so far, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you kind of working on mechanically at the plate right now?
At the plate, being on time to the fastball. Not really changing anything mechanically, just being on time is the main thing for me.
Yeah, that's good. And, how are you feeling about the vibes surrounding the Red Sox right now and kind of, where they're at right now?
I feel like there's always improvements in baseball, and you can never settle, really. I'm not exactly sure what's going on right now. I know they had a delay yesterday.
Yeah, they
played
did.
2 today also. But
Yeah.
I know they got a couple big wins back-to-back these last couple of games. So they're doing well, but there's always improvements to make in baseball, for sure.
100%, yeah. And what's it been like having that opportunity to play with your good friends, Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony?
It's been cool. I played with them in AA,
Yep.
AAA, and now the big league. So it's been cool. We're all learning how to play the game at the highest level. So, it's been fun to do it together.
Yeah. What's your biggest goal, would you say, for kind of moving forward?
The biggest goal is really to stay healthy, learn a little bit each day at each position I practice at. Mainly first base right now, just learning as much as I can, trying to get as comfortable as possible, and contribute every day I'm on the field. So
there you have it. I mean, Kristian Campbell definitely is the type of player who is just going to go out there and do whatever needs to be done no matter what. And regardless of whether he's happy or not with the situation he's in, he's not letting that show. And I thought it was really cool to hear him talking about his relationship with Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and just how long they've all been playing together and how they've have all gotten the chance to play together in the majors. And he'll be back there for sure at some point. And the biggest thing about Kristian Campbell to note is his athleticism, which makes him pretty adaptable, and an ability to do different things is something that is going to set him apart from other players. And he primarily is just working on his timing. He's late still on a lot of pitches. I noticed that even yesterday when I was watching the Woo Sox game, that he was just late on a lot of stuff. And that's a problem that he had when he was up in Boston too. So that's one of the biggest things that he is focusing on right now for the rest of his time with the Woo Sox, and obviously as he continues to grow as a Major League Baseball player, is not necessarily that he has trouble hitting particular pitches, because that's not really something that he struggles with. It's just more that the timing when he's at the plate is something that still is a problem for him. So as he continues to take AAA at bats, he'll continue to grow in that area for sure. The Red Sox are really confident in his ability to get back to the majors at some point soon this season, but this extra time in AAA is going to prove really valuable for him, because he even said he's just learning a ton right now about the things that weren't working for him when he was up in the majors, and the Woo Sox have really been helping him to come up with a plan in terms of how he can do better and how he can succeed moving forward. But it'll be interesting to see what position the Red Sox decide to have him play when he gets called back up, now that he's been playing some first base. So should be fun to figure all that out. But I appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen of the day. Be sure to next tune in to Locked On MLB Game Night on YouTube or any other podcast platform, which goes over every game that took place that night. So you don't have to keep checking scores. You can just find out from our experts here at Locked On. So make sure you check that out next and make it your second listen right after this. Keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.